We are not your grandmothers and grandfathers in NAACP, and I know some chapters that's what I think of. We wanted to make this organization that already existed, that had a name, to see if we could make it work more effectively for justice in our community.
Good afternoon, I'm Rubye Johnson, Vice President of Crittenden County NAACP.
And I'm Shabaka, Afrika, President of Crittenden County NAACP, and this is Race, Religion, and Politics. Everything that your mama and your dad and your boss man told you not to talk about, we intend to talk about those things because those are the things, race, religion, and politics, that affect our daily lives. Oh, it's interesting that you asked that question. I don't know what would have caused you to ask that question, but this is a West African outfit. You'll see a lot of West Africans and North Africans and some East Africans wearing similar outfits, and you will see it at their festivals, their day-to-day attire, and at their religious services as well as their governmental functions. And so just giving a shout out to my West African ancestors. That's it.
Well, my message to them would be to get out and vote. And a lot of people say, well, my vote really doesn't count. But I want to ask you this, if your vote really didn't count, why do you think so many people are trying to suppress it? Think about that.
Wow.
Also think about the people who thought voting was valuable and they gave their lives and got beat and everything, put in prison for you to vote. So don't just say my vote didn't count, try it. See, and this is one time that you need to really try it. And some of the things that NAACP has been doing to try to get people out to vote and to make sure that there is a significant amount of people voting, we've been doing voter registration since the spring. We started last spring at the
April?
Yeah, last April at Academy of West Memphis, and we got about 20 students to get registered there. So we decided this is something that we wanted to do year-round. So we partnered up with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and this fall we went to every high school in Crittenden County. We went to Earl, Marion, and the Academies of West Memphis, and we joined ASU Mid-South for the Constitution Day, and we not only enrolled some of the students, but some of the citizens of the county came to the school because they heard about it, and they enrolled or changed their address. Some of them were new. So we've been doing a big effort of getting out to vote because it's essential that you vote. That's your right, that's your privilege, you need to vote.
And it's your responsibility. And
exactly.
To be clear about it, we've been to the Academies of West Memphis High School 3 times.
3 times.
In April and twice just last month.
In September, then back again in October, right before the end of the deadline. So we wanted to make sure that everybody that wanted to get registered could get registered, because a lot of the young people said that they didn't have a way to marry in, they didn't know where to get formed, so we put it right there in their laps. All they had to do was come and vote.
And so let me add to that, if there's anybody out there that wants to register to vote, now it's too late to register to vote in this upcoming election, but it's your civic responsibility, I think is what she was saying. So you can come by here, or you can go to the courthouse, or you can go online and register, because there may not be a whole lot of elections every year, but every year there's at least one election. The school board has an election every year. Yeah. So if you want to participate in that, then you need to be registered to vote at least 30 days before election day. Okay. At least 30 days. And she was, Ms. Johnson was talking about voter suppression. One of the big things going on right now is that the Republican Party in particular have been attempting over the last several years to control voter outcome by gerrymandering. Gerrymandering means an illegal way of drawing political districts to favor one party or one person over another. And probably one of the most blatant things that you see now is they want everybody to have a photo ID to vote. And even though I have my photo ID, but some people don't. We don't want there to be an impediment to voting for anyone. We should make it easier for people to vote. And there's a big lie going around that a lot of people voted that weren't supposed to vote. That's not true. That's been investigated over and over again. That's just flat not true. One of the things going on right now with some of the Native Americans up in North Dakota is that they're trying to require them they're saying that in order to vote, you have to have a street address. Well, most of the Native Americans live on reservations. Yes, they still live on reservations. That's a product of racism, but they have P.O. box numbers, so they wouldn't be able to vote. So they're working to try to undo that.
Yeah.
What's happening is they know that the Native Americans are more likely to vote for the more liberal candidates, and so they're trying to suppress their capacity to do that, because then if people to get together and vote more progressive candidates in, that means that the quote-unquote conservative candidates will have a much harder time winning those elections. So yeah, voting is, in my estimation, a civic responsibility, but it's your responsibility to get out and understand what the issues are and make some determination about what's in your best interest. And stop saying it doesn't matter what they do. It won't matter what they do if you don't get involved. You have a responsibility to take control of your communities, of your state. If you aren't a part of governing, then those who make political decisions will most likely make decisions that are not in your best interest.
Right.
And so organize for power.
Exactly. And let me just add one more thing while we're talking about early voting and voting. We don't endorse candidates because we're a nonprofit and we cannot do that. But we can give you our opinions on some of the amendments that's there. We had 5 on the ballot. 2 of them have been stricken, but when you go to vote, you will still see them because they didn't take them off the ballot. The ballots have been made, and that's Amendment 1 and Amendment 3. But you have to vote for the other 2. And number 2 is what he just finished talking about, voter suppression. So our opinion is to vote against number 2.
Yes.
But then for number 4 and 5, we want you to vote for them. In our opinion, those are good. Number 5 is for minimum wages.
To rise.
To rise. And it began this January, moving from $8.25 to go up, and it's going to keep increasing every January until it gets to be $11. So we are for that one, and we are for the one. Even though I know a lot of people don't gamble, I'm not one of a gambler, but I do know that they have these gambling all the states all around us, and people are going and taking our money there when we can have the money here, where it can do good for us, can do good for our scholarships, that will help our children go to school. So we are recommending that we vote for those and against number 2. Remember, early voting is going on now, and the last day for early voting is this coming Monday, the 5th, and then there'll be regular election, and you'll go to your regular polling site.
Yeah, make sure that early voting is at the Crittenden County Courthouse in Marion, and it's from 8 to 6.
It's from 8 to 6 Monday through Friday, and from 10 to 4 on Saturday.
So you have a chance to beat the crowd that'll be out there next Tuesday. And regular voting day is Tuesday.
7:30 to 7:30.
7:30 to 7:30. Vice President Johnson just told you quite a bit. One of our major efforts this year was to get our young people registered to vote. And keep in mind that all of us are voluntary. And so most people have jobs and children and other things they're involved in. So we don't. This is not a 9-to-5 job. At least it's not yet. And so it's hard work to get out and go here and there, and to engage people around the county in trying to do and uplift our people in this community. Just this past August, we had a massive back-to-school extravaganza and health fair. And we were at the Agape Christian Center. We want to give a shout out to Agape Christian Center. It's right up the street. What is that address? Is it 1825?
1823.
1823 East Broadway. It's on the south side of the street. And we had Baptist Hospital there. We had face painting. We had balloons. Our bouncy house people never showed up, did they?
No.
They'll be there next year. We gave away a lot of beautiful backpacks, a lot of school supplies. Gave out hot dogs and drinks. The fire department was there. We want to thank West Memphis Fire Department for coming and letting our young people tour the fire truck. I was excited about that too.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a fireman.
And
when I
don't
grew up.
forget Delta Sigma Theta sorority.
And Delta Sigma Theta sorority partnered with us again. And so we had a ton of people out there. We had a good time. And we plan to do a bigger and better one next year. Throughout the year, at virtually every meeting, we meet the first Monday, the third Monday in every month at 6 p.m. And we meet at 812 East Broadway, which is our office, which is where we are now. And we are the only unit or chapter of the NAACP in Arkansas that literally has its own office and its own place to meet. And so we're excited about that because it gives us the kind of autonomy and independence that we need to be able to be effective. And but at every meeting, we have someone of note to come out and speak or lecture. We've had the county sheriff here. We've had the county judge here talking about the role of county government and, of course, career opportunities in law enforcement and whatnot. We've had community outreach people. Mr.
Baptist Hospital.
Baptist Hospital. Oh, my God. Oh, Brian Welton, the president of Baptist Hospital, was here and spoke a long time about the upcoming hospital. And guess what? Hopefully, our next meeting, which will be on November 19th, will be at Baptist Hospital, and we'll be able to give our members and others who come to our meeting a tour of the new facility, because it's about to open just, I think, next month.
In December.
We've had, just this past September, we had a meet the candidates. They came out. We allowed our mayoral candidates and candidates for some county offices to come and speak about what their plans are if they get elected. And so we're excited about all those things that we're doing. And
don't forget Miss Tawana Bailey came from she's an outreach for the West Memphis Police Department. She was here in August. And in this month we had
the human resource director.
Yeah, we had the human resource. Sure did.
Yeah.
Janice. We did
Janice
have Janice Coleman here
came
from the city of West Memphis.
Talked to us about job openings and how to look up those jobs. So, and I'm sure we've done a lot more than what we're saying. And of course, we meet all the time, and we keep our books, and we read our minutes, and we do our work. We attend other functions. Just this Friday before last, I was a guest at the Pine Bluff NAACP banquet, and had some good food and good fellowship, and was able to talk with other branches about what they're doing in their communities and see if we could work together. Less than a month ago, our officers, including Vice President Johnson, we traveled to Elaine, Arkansas. Now, for those that don't know, Elaine, Arkansas is the site of one of the most famous and deadly race massacres in the history of the United States, where in 1919, the governor of Arkansas came here with over 500 federal troops, claiming to be putting down an uprising by black farmers, which in fact, they were only trying to organize to get a fair accounting of their sharecropping, and kill 800 to 1,000 people. So we were there for that event. And what did we gain from it? Well, we have a clearer understanding about how black political participation declined after Reconstruction. It was through state-sponsored terrorism. Blacks were murdered and killed and slaughtered so that they would be afraid or to participate in local politics and business and on and on and on. And so we'll talk more about that type of thing probably in February for Black History Month. We want to do a whole segment on state-sponsored terrorism and how blacks came to be disenfranchised. And because a lot of people want to know, well, why is it that blacks aren't involved in this and that? Well, it's because they were murdered and killed. For instance, in 1888, all of the black elected officials, in the 1880s, blacks were 80% of the population in Crittenden County. 80%. And right now, it's about 70%. And in 1888, a group of white citizens came with their Winchesters and literally ordered the black elected officials to leave Crittenden County, put them on a skiff at the Mississippi River. There was no bridge across the Mississippi River at that time, and told them if they came back, they'd suffer the consequences. There was a young black man that was 27 years old who owned a newspaper. In 1888, that same day, they ransacked his office, put his press, threw it in the Marion Lake, and ran him out of town. And we found that out a few years ago. Margaret Wilfolk, who was a lawyer and a historian around here for years, that's in her book that's in the Marion Library today. You can purchase that book or go by and visit it. And we're doing research on that right now. And the local newspaper, the Evening Times, had a story about that on their wall out in their entrance way into their newspaper. It looked as though it was like a trophy, but so I think all that's interesting. But we want to talk more in detail about that when February comes around. We really want to.
Let me just shout out to DeShanta Jordan. She came this month and talked to us about breast awareness. We don't want to overlook that because this is Breast Awareness Month, and we know that a significant amount of African Americans suffer from breast cancer. We also want the men to understand that men can have breast cancer as well. So she did a good job because she had a personal side of it, her mother and herself being both victims of cancer.
Sure. Yeah, and she was very informative, and she stressed early detection as well as prayer and spiritual awareness as tools to deal with that disease. We are not your grandmothers and grandfathers in NAACP, and I know some chapters that's what I think of. We wanted to make this organization that already existed, that had a name, to see if we could make it work more effectively for justice in our community.